Hi, everybody. We're live with Nancy Allen on Game Changers. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Vicki. I love you.
I love you so much. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm so
You're very welcome.
I'm so grateful. This is going to make a noise now because I just opened it in the browser so we can see who's joining us. You know, you really saved my life, and you did it at the very, very last minute. Whoa, I have something flying around. Which normally I would not be able to get you at the last minute. This is one advantage.
And normally I would not be at home all the time. So I'm very available.
This is what I'm saying. It's like there are advantages to the COVID craziness, right?
Definitely.
So for those of you who are watching at home and wondering what is going on, because originally drummer Liberty DeVito, who played with Billy Joel for 30 years, and his book just came out literally on the 17th, and it's a #1 Amazon bestseller in just days. He's in his second printing already. And he got a gig. Who gets a gig in the middle of COVID? A rock boy does, right? So, and then when I realized he didn't let me know until 3:30 yesterday. Now, Nancy, would you do that ever?
Well, I would try not to. It would be my goal to not let something like that happen. But given a probably very big job in COVID, and he might have been sitting home for a while. So, you know, a guy's got to do what a guy's got to do.
And he's got a family. I totally get it. And yes, of course, whenever we can make money in this time, we've got to do it. I get it. And then
a boyfriend would not get a break, though. You know what I'm saying?
We talked about this yesterday. Are you okay? So yesterday I was talking about my lifetime obsession with men and how I tend to spend half my life thinking about the guy and all. Are you one of those people? Were you one of those people?
Yes, I would say that I'm a serial marrier, and the subtitle would be "Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places."
Although you've
Story of my life.
You've upped your game, though.
Yes, that's after 10 years of spending alone time with me and only me. I thought it was done. So
okay, so let's talk about that. How many marriages? 3. Okay, I'm on 2. I've done 2. I've done 2. You're not freaking me out. So
there would have been more if I had time. If the divorces had moved along a little, who knows?
How long did
I wanted to be with someone. I thought I needed that other person to, make me whole, to make me happy, to, family and all of that. And, there's some truth to that, but there was so much healing to do before I could figure that out.
So so do you know where that came from with you? Because I know where mine came from. Do you know why that was true for you?
I think that, well, first of all, I'm a little Cancer girl, so like home and family and all of that.
Right.
But I think that there was, I was a child of chaos. So there's a lot of love and there's a lot of chaos in my home. So I think I was in search of creating a safe home for myself. The problem was I kept replicating the problem that I dragged out of my home and picked that person over and over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Been there, done that. So the decision, did you, okay, so you were alone for 10 years in between your third marriage and Jay. For those, yeah. So for those 10 years, you said that you did the work. What did that look like? What was that? How did you find yourself? How did you find sanity in there?
Well, the last was so bad and so disruptive to my being. It was really an assault, and I thought, I don't have another one of these in me, So this isn't what I do. So I'm going to be alone. So I knew I had a lot of healing to do, a lot of grief, a lot of, because I was letting go of the area of my life that I thought was the one area that was the one that was going to make my life whole. So, I went to Jungian therapy. I did hypnotherapy. I would have done an exorcism. Been presented. I mean, I was willing, but it was really not about figuring it out. It was about healing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so what does that mean? Because I'm there. What does that mean? What does that healing mean? What did it mean for you?
I first had to find out why I picked mean, abusive men. That was the first thing I had to discover. It's like uncover, discover, discard, right? And then I really had to, I don't think I'd ever really taken a look at myself and said, what do I like? What do I like to do? How do I like to spend my life? I had to be that partner in my own life for myself. So that, and
how does that feel?
Well, it was very odd at first, and then it became very natural the more I practiced. It took years. I mean, obviously it took years. And then I got to a point where I thought, well, and you get old enough and you get to the point where you think, I'm not accepting any less than this. I'm not accepting anyone who would treat me less than the way I treat myself.
Did you walk away from things during those 10 years where you felt like did you walk away from men in those years that you felt were maybe going to replicate that pattern?
Well, for the first 5 years, I didn't even want to go on a date. And then I would say in the last 3 years before I met Jay, I probably had 3 or 4 dates. One with a man that I knew from back in the day, from my acting days, who we always got along. We always had fun. I always liked him. I thought, maybe this is. And we went to dinner, and I knew right away in the first, I thought, this ain't it. You know what I mean? It just wasn't it. And then somehow I hooked up with this attorney, and I don't know, it was very awkward. He lunged at me and it was just like, please, you know. And so I thought, you know what? I'm fine. And I let it go, really let it go after that. And I really accepted. I thought, gee, I guess that's going to be sad in a way, because I couldn't imagine ever holding hands with someone again, or, you know, cuddling or going to movies, or just, you know, that companion. And I'm always in search of true love. I love true love.
So were you lonely in that time? Was it lonely? Did you long for it?
No, there were times when I felt lonely, but that's when I had to figure out what to do for myself. Whether it was making dates with my girlfriends, or, you know, ordering a pizza and watching a movie, you know, just doing and giving myself those time. There were just those moments where I'd go, oh, I guess I'm not going to meet, you know, just that feeling that it might not happen. But I was okay with that, because I couldn't take, I was afraid. Because each time I was like, oh, this one's different. You know, reminded me, I don't know if you remember Alfred Hitchcock show, there was an hour-long show.
Yeah.
It was a crazy show, that one where the husband and wife, and the wife told the husband that she had been raped. So they're driving in the car, and they're driving down the road, and she says, that's him. And so the guy goes off the road. He murders the man. He said, there, now you're safe. They get back in the car, and they're driving. She goes, that's him.
Oh my
God. So I felt like I didn't want to do that again. And I know that no one was going to fix it. No one was going to, I wanted someone to have a good time and who was kind. I had to just define it. I wanted someone kind, affectionate, funny, intelligent, you know, cute, a little bit at this age, you know what I mean? Yeah. And a man, a grown-up. So, because I found those boy men, you know, the boy men that need someone to like grow them up. It's exhausting.
So you basically had a list.
I did.
You had a list.
I did.
Anything on your list that Jay didn't, or that he didn't have? He came in with all your checked boxes.
He did. At first I was a little skeptical, because he lives in Hermosa Beach, and I thought, okay, this is just geographically not desirable. This is too hard. I can't do this. But you know what? For me, it was really good, because it kind of forced that you couldn't just, he's right down the street, so you're together like all the time. So it was really a nice, slowly developing relationship. Anyway, so here we are sheltering for the last, 4 months, 5 months, 8 years. What is it? How many years have we been here?
So you guys have been together for how long?
It'll be 5 years in September.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so it's not repeating a pattern for you. This is different.
Yes.
This is different. And this is now, though, through COVID, one thing it's done for you is you are now cohabitating.
Yeah.
Which yeah.
It's really nice. It's really nice. We do really well together. We have a good time. You know, he does his thing, I do my thing, and then we have, you know, meals together. But he's writing now. He's deep in. For anyone who knows writers like you, writing, I'll be sitting there and I look at him and first I think, he doesn't love me. And then I look and I go, you're writing, aren't you? He goes, yeah. It's just like he's in with his characters. Sometimes I'm jealous of those characters.
Is he, I know he wrote his memoir. We had him on and we talked about it. Is he writing another?
He's writing a script.
Nice.
Romantic comedy. But it has a lot of depth to it.
Jay was a television writer, The Jeffersons, and just an incredible resume he has of. So, okay. So here's my other question. I don't know if you know the answer to this. Is COVID in his script? You know, because I'm wondering how are we going to have stories moving forward that don't acknowledge the fact that we've gone through this? I mean, I think this will forever change because of this. I don't know though.
Well, I think we have to. I forget what show. One show said they were going into production. They're not going to notice it. But there's another show that I read. I don't remember what it was. It was today or yesterday that they're actually putting it together for a show, and it's going to be all about COVID.
Right.
So, I mean, how can we ignore it? It's now all of our lives, the entire universe. You know, we're in a collective pause here.
I just heard Grey's Anatomy is going to, of course, that's it. Right. It was Grey's Anatomy. They announced
That's it.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about Nancy. So, okay. So you now are in a position where COVID is kind of working out okay for you in a way because you have this lovely domestic relationship. How is it impacting you as far as not being able to do your work? And we can talk about WeSpark, and let's talk about WeSpark. Are you able to carry on in COVID?
So here's the thing. Personally, I'm basically a homebody. So with or without Jay, this is like, oh, you know, I'm home. It's kind of okay for me. It's great doing this together with him. But as far as work with WeSpark, you know, we just moved into this absolutely breathtaking new center, 9,000 square feet. Everything is impeccably designed for every program that we have. And we opened and closed 3 weeks later. So essentially, we've gone online. So we have all of our support groups are on Zoom or telehealth, and guided imagery and qigong and yoga, and we did a healing sound bath the other night. So we're doing all this stuff online, and actually the guests, the patients, as people would know them, we call them guests, but are really enjoying it, and they're hoping that we keep it going. And you know what, that was really my goal a long time ago, because there's so many people that either wrote to me from out of town or were homesick and they couldn't figure out how to get access to these programs. So we've done a major outreach across the country and let people know, hey, we're free. Come on, you're welcome to use these programs. And so it's kind of exciting. The administrative part of it is a little bit challenging, but there's a great staff. We meet collectively as a group once a week, and then we do little breakout sessions. But it's all like here, like we're sitting and talking. This is what we do in Zoom.
Right.
It's easy to get distracted at home. Hard to stay, for me, focused. It's like, squirrel, you know?
Yes. So Nancy, if you could give the few sentence description of WeSpark and what motivated you to get involved.
So WeSpark Cancer Support Center, the founder was an actress named Wendy Jo Sperber. We knew each other from the 70s. We made a couple of movies together. And in her late 30s, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Single mom, she had 2 kids. It was really hard for her. She was really sick, and there was nowhere in the San Fernando Valley for her to go for support, and actually nowhere in Los Angeles for her children to go for support outside of a therapist office. So her mom, her dad, her siblings, everybody was melting down. So Wendy said, okay, LA needs a place where everybody can go who needs support. It has to be free, and that's that. And everyone told her she couldn't do it. And that was not in her vocabulary. So she had a big fundraiser. The first one was a golf tournament. In fact, the Beach Boys they played. And she asked me to be a celebrity golfer, which I did. I had no really clue what she was doing or why she was doing it, but she was my dear friend. So anyway, when she found the place and opened it up, and she said, listen, you're into all that woo-woo stuff. I need this here. I need you to come and help me. And you're going to be the creative program director. I'm thinking, what is she talking about? Have
you done anything administrative like that before?
No, but what I had done was a few years before, I was thinking that in my mind, I wanted to open a healing center just for women where we could learn to meditate and do yoga and have inspirational speakers and women and healing, and I couldn't figure out how to raise money. So I got involved with Wendy, and we had 2 support groups, 1 cancer, 1 caregivers, a yoga class, which she made me teach because I knew how to do yoga. And what else did we have? I think game night. I mean,
how long ago was this, Nancy?
This was in 2001.
Okay.
So we're 19 years. And now we have, when we're fully up and running, probably 45 programs a week.
Oh my God.
We have right now online 9 support groups that are going. I mean, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. We did unfortunately lose Wendy in 2005, but I know somewhere in the environment, because I hear that whisper in my ear from time to time, or that poke, come on, you can do more, get going. So it's a beautiful environment. I love the people. I lost my father to cancer, and of course, I lost Wendy to cancer. Most people's lives have been touched by cancer. And it's just a really cool environment, and it's creative and supportive. And it's really kind of a mission now for me. I love it.
Cindy Beagle says that a lot of people know Wendy from Bosom Buddies, that she was in Bosom Buddies with Tom Hanks. And that's how some of these people may know her. Cindy worked with Jay, on
yes.
Yes. So if it looks like I'm not looking at you, I'm looking over to see like who's there, and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to everybody, and we'll get your questions for Nancy. So if you have questions for Nancy, put them in the thread, and we'll come over there in a little bit, and we'll address them. Right now, we're going to answer my questions. So. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about COVID and the fact that you're a homebody and it's not terrible for you to be home. We talked a little bit about this when Jay was on a couple of weeks ago, but let's get your take on it. So what are you willing to do? What does your life look like? And has it changed over the last 4 months, what you guys are willing to do?
Oh, of course, it's changed dramatically. First of all, I'm just going to tell you, I have the antibodies. I was very sick in January. Nobody knew what was wrong with me, but I was very sick for 5 weeks. I woke up with a sore throat, and I started coughing and a headache, and my nose was running. And I went to the doctor, and she said,
wait, all this in one day? Coughing?
I woke up like that. Yeah.
You woke up. Okay.
I woke up with it, and I went to my doctor, wonderful physician, and she said, it's a virus. There's nothing I can give you. Get some Robitussin, rest, blah, blah, blah. Well, over the next 3 days, I started coughing uncontrollably. And so she gave me prednisone. I took that for 4 or 5 days, nothing, didn't do anything.
Wow.
Then, meanwhile, I'm on my 3rd bottle of Robitussin. Then she gave me an antibiotic. I was coughing and coughing. I could barely catch my breath. I was so tired. So I thought, I have pneumonia. I went to my pulmonologist. I went to him. He's a brilliant doctor at Cedars, one of the top guys. He said, did all the tests. He says, you don't have pneumonia, but I'm sorry, there's nothing I can give you. You have a virus. This was in January. So this went on
What did we know about, did you know about COVID at this point? Did we know?
No, it was just, people were just starting to, so end of January, beginning, people were just starting to talk about it, and people would say to me, oh, do you have the coronavirus? I said, oh, for God's sake, no, I don't have that. Don't be silly, But so anyway, so that was by the end of February, which my nephew, I think he's watching, my nephew Eugene. Some people call him Gene, I call him Eugene.
What's his last name? I saw Eugene.
Eugene Allen.
Oh, Eugene.
Anyway,
okay, I'm looking for him. Yeah.
So anyway, he came to visit, and he was worried about my cough, and I said, I'm fine, I'm healing. Long story short, we go into the lockdown, which, by the way, when we closed on March 18th, when I closed the office and I went to my car, I sobbed. I was sobbing, and I was sobbing because my life is so structured. My routine is so structured. It was like I was literally panicked about, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I was just, so I go into COVID. Jay comes up. We're together, and it was weird. And going, I wasn't upset. I kept being.
Are you better at this point?
I'm better. Yeah, I'm better. This was March. This was around March. No, yeah, March 18th or 20th, something like that. Much better.
We're COVID crazy. Did you have the stomach upset?
No, I didn't have body aches. I didn't have fever. I didn't have, well, I had the coughing, the shortness of breath, headachy a little bit, runny nose. That was basically it.
You had fatigue.
Oh my God. I mean, I would cough for minutes and minutes, and I couldn't stop. And then I finally I could barely breathe, and then I'd fall asleep, and then it would start all over. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. But I was convinced that I was undiagnosed with bronchitis or something. And then, so anyway, in April, when, Rochelle Carson, who's a mutual friend of ours, she calls me, she says, my friend had COVID, and they're doing this certain kind of testing. They're doing antibody testing at the Department of Health. You just have to sign up, and you don't have to have COVID. So this long questionnaire, I fill it out. I go finger prick over on Tahunga, and 5 days later, I find out I'm positive for the antibodies.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God. Then they do the test. I was negative at that point for COVID. And then they were trying to see if I could donate plasma, but I wasn't a candidate after they did all the testing for other reasons. But so it's, I have to say, I wasn't worried about it the way people were panicked at first. I kept thinking, it'll be okay. I didn't hit full on panic until I went to the market, and I couldn't get eggs, and I couldn't get my almond milk. I mean, everything was bare, and I'm like, I wasn't even thinking about toilet paper at that point. Yeah. It's like, I came home and I sobbed. I thought, what's to become of us? And then you try to Google and get Instacart or whatever that thing is, and they say, well, we can't get you this, but we'll get you that. And I went, oh God, it was very frightening, very frightening.
And so you guys do shop for yourselves, don't you?
Yes. I did try the Instagram or cart or whatever that is. I like to pick out my own food, so I'm willing to go and do it.
So how scary, I haven't been to a supermarket. It's killing me. That's my favorite kind of shopping, is food shopping. I love picking out my food. It kills me that somebody else is doing it. How do you feel when you're in the store?
I feel much better now. Initially, it was very odd. The first month, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it was, I don't even know how long it's been, but I remember going during senior hour, and all the seniors are lined up, and we were at Ralph's in Vineland. And I remember everybody was marching in like little soldiers with their cards. And then it was like, do you remember supermarket sweepstakes? Everybody started running. And Jay's like, I'm going to the paper aisle. I'm going. It was insane. And the anxiety that it would produce. That's when I decided that no matter what, every day I was going to eat whatever I wanted, whatever sweet I wanted. And I found these wonderful I guess they're vegan ice cream bars with dark chocolate. They're delicious. I love them. I eat one every day, no matter what.
I found Van Leeuwen vegan ice cream from Whole Foods. I get it delivered, but their Sicilian pistachio makes me weep. It's so joyful. So you don't look like it. Have you gained weight in COVID? Are you?
No, because I'm walking every day. I'm walking about 45 minutes every day, not only for my back, my body, but for my head.
Okay, so how does that give you anxiety?
The walking? No, I love the walking. The walking helps me.
Okay, but are people wearing masks in your neighborhood?
Well, here's the thing. I would say I go early, 7 in the morning, 7:45 or so. And I would say a lot of people are, but a lot of people aren't. And it really bothers me. I feel I'm angry. If we had leadership that said, okay, we're in this, we're going to get through it. This is what we're all going to do. I'm going to mandate this. Don't get mad at me, but this is what we're going to do. And we're going to shut this thing down. We don't have that, as you know. So don't get me on that tangent. But no, I don't have that. Yeah, no, so all I can do is take care of myself. I have friends that are doing socially distanced gatherings. I'm not there. Totally not there. Mm-hmm. But I think
how is it different to do a socially distanced gathering as opposed to going to the supermarket? Why is that different for you?
Well, I guess I feel like I can control my distance. But if you're sitting in someone's backyard or wherever it is, or you're sitting across, it just feels, to me, that feels in a way deliberate. Deliberately, for me, it's a deliberate risk that I'm taking. Mm-hmm. This is about getting food in my house. Right. And I try to go at the best time that I can go when there's few people there.
So when is the best time to go?
I can't hear you all of a sudden.
You can't hear me?
Well, I'll tell you something. Early in the morning, 7:30 is not bad, except there are a lot of Instacart shoppers then. And the evening, oddly enough, 7:30 in the evening or 8 o'clock. It's a really good time. I find there's hardly anyone in my market.
Do they still have grocery? Do they still have produce and stuff at 7 at night?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, of course, you had to go early, or by the afternoon there was nothing there. Now everything's pretty well stocked. So that's good.
So
but I miss, what I miss? I miss calling a friend saying, hey, you want to grab a bite? You want to meet for dinner? That's just that. To be able to be free to do that. And you can't do it, It's really sad to me.
I keep thinking of that Private Benjamin moment when Goldie Hawn says, I want to go out to lunch. And I want to go out to lunch. We were talking about it this afternoon.
Yeah. I want a manicure and a pedicure, please. I just want to say, I was scheduled. Look at you, I'm so jealous.
Oh, this is
scheduled, and then we got shut down.
This is press-on nails from Target. I swear to God.
Good job, girl. I could not do that. They'd be all over me somewhere. Not on my nails.
Thing in the world. It's the only way to manicure these things. So it's changed your life in that you're not doing your socializing. Are you doing social things on Zoom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I meet with my girlfriends. We meet about 3 times a week, and we talk about whatever. And that's pretty much what we do. And I have Zoom meetings with whoever invites me, really,
But you're able to do your business. It's wonderful that service is up and running for people who need it. So Nancy, if anybody out there is a caretaker for someone with cancer, or if anybody has it themselves, how can they get involved with WeSpark?
Contact WeSpark. Send us, info at WeSpark. Go to our website, www.wespark.org. Send us the request. The information will be there, and we will schedule a brief intake either on telehealth or Zoom and get you signed up and get you going for services. We'd love to help you if you need help, and it's all free. And I can tell you the most loving, wonderful therapists, practitioners, and instructors. They're just so devoted.
Wow. And do you advise people if they need to find an oncologist, do you help people with that?
Well, we don't give medical referrals, but what we suggest is that they talk to other participants, do your homework, investigate, get the information. Don't just settle, really look into it, but no, we can't refer.
And how can people support you? How can people support WeSpark? Those out there who wish to.
That's a great question, because we normally would be on our second fundraiser this year, and it's been a very rough year. And cancer was here before COVID, and our patients, the people that come to us, have already had, a lot of people have lost their jobs, don't have the income, don't have the resources. So please help us help them by giving us a donation of any kind. It's not too small and it's not too large. If you go to our website, there's big buttons everywhere that say donate, and we'd be so grateful.
So for all of you out there having a Facebook birthday coming up and they say, would you like to do a fundraiser? WeSpark is an excellent choice. I mean, sometimes people have these like crazy, everybody's got to do their own thing, but they have support pelicans in the Antarctic. I don't know. Instead of supporting a pelican in the Antarctic, you might want to consider WeSpark. And
thank you. Yes, that's true. Actually, we just got a nice check. Somebody did it. I don't even know who, because you never know who it is, really, unless they let you know. We just got, the check comes in from Network for Good, so all the donors are anonymous, so we can't thank them. But I'm thanking you now if you're one of those people.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so let's get back. So you had it. Have there been any COVID? I'm back to that. Have there been any lasting, I've heard there are people called the long haulers who get like a recurrence and it lasts for a long time. Have you had any, did you lose the taste did your taste buds get affected? No.
No, let me just say this. I couldn't tell you, because I was having a hard time eating. I was drinking all day long a mixture of sliced ginger, like a tea of ginger and honey and lemon, constantly. So, soup, I was eating soup, so I don't even know what my taste buds were, but I don't think I lost the taste and smell. I don't think so. And I'm convinced that it didn't get worse because of the steroid and the antibiotic, or I might have gone into the pneumonia. I don't really know. I feel like I dodged a bullet, honestly, because I have had pneumonia, and I think at my age, I don't have any underlying illnesses, but I think I could have easily have gotten very, very ill.
And so you don't have any how long did it take till you got your energy back, until you weren't exhausted anymore?
Oh, quite a while. I was 5 weeks coughing, and I would say probably not until maybe mid-March or so, when we closed down the office, so it took a long time.
And did Jay get it from you?
No, I think I got it from Jay, but I met him in Vegas. He had been there for 4 days, and I got there on a Thursday. He wasn't feeling well on the Friday, and he didn't feel well on Saturday, and I took care of him. And then Sunday we came home, and Monday I woke up sick. So I blame it. But he started coughing, but his didn't ever develop the way that mine did.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'd like to think it was because I took such care of him.
Antibodies, correct? He tested negative for the antibodies, didn't he?
He tested negative for the antibodies.
There's a lot of talk about that they're not sure. The antibodies in some people only last weeks. Some people it lasts months. Can you get sick again? They don't know.
They don't know anything.
They don't
We're on a learning curve together, everybody. It's not like you can call a friend and say, hey, what did you do in the last pandemic?
I think we are learning, and I think we are educating each other, asking a lot of questions. We've had a lot of people on Shooting the Shit who've told us about their journey. A tracer said that the one symptom that everybody she traced had was the stomach part, which you didn't have, which is interesting.
No.
So that's garbage. But I did read 2 things in the last 24 hours, which I just want to share with everybody because it's really interesting. One is they discovered in Wuhan that people who took Pepsid got over the virus quicker and did better, and there was less mortality. People who took Prilosec did worse and were more likely to die and were more likely to develop complications. And so even people who didn't have the stomach part, if they took Pepcid, their whole COVID did better. Then Cindy Beagle sent me this morning, this is mind-blowing. So it turns out they've just discovered that they think melatonin prevents people from getting the lung disease of COVID.
Wow.
And so what's interesting is that my boyfriend takes this dream water every night to go to sleep. And he is not careful. He's not COVID crazy like I am, but he doesn't have it. And I'm thinking, wow. So, but what's crazy to me is that he ordered some of his dream water stuff and he accidentally sent it to me. And last night I was thinking, oh, I forgot to give him his dream water. And then I couldn't go to sleep. And I've been only getting 4 hours. And I thought, I'm going to see if I can keep half of those. I should try it. Melatonin doesn't really agree with me. It makes me groggy in the morning. But I thought if I just take a little, and then Cindy sends me this thing this morning. Well, I'm confiscating half his case of dream water. But isn't it interesting that they're finding out from Wuhan now all these months later, okay, take melatonin. So I'm wondering.
I take melatonin 3 days a week.
Now, how do you work that out? Why 3 days a week?
Because on the other days, on the odd days, I take progesterone, which does help me sleep at night. It's one of my hormones. But when I can't take that, I have difficulty sleeping. So I take the melatonin. I do feel a little bit groggy in the morning, as you mentioned, but it seems to pass pretty quickly. I'm not willing to lie there all night and toss and turn. I'm just not willing.
How much do you what's your dose? Do you know?
Just one little one. I don't know. The lowest, I think I don't even know. I'd have to look.
Now, I'm wondering if perhaps you didn't get the pneumonia because you were taking melatonin. And
I wasn't taking it then.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, but maybe you wouldn't have had the cough so bad. Who knows? It's just interesting.
What's happening? Something happened.
What happened? Are you live? Are you good?
I don't know. It's sort of all frozen, but maybe it's on my end.
Okay, so Nancy, let's get to, a lot of these people weren't here a few years ago when I had you on the road taken and we talked about your past, but you're a Bronx girl, which cracks me up, as am I. So you're a girl from the Bronx. What did you want? Tell me when you were a little girl, what was the dream? What was your dream?
Little, I wanted to be, I was talking about this with my friends. I don't know where it came from because I'd never been to a circus. I wanted to be a tightrope walker. I was going to be a cowgirl. And, and then I don't know, I think I wanted to be a dancer because I was studying dancing. The acting came later, but as a child, I was a weird kid. I didn't like watching cartoons. I watched movies. I used to love to watch movies over and over and over. Do you remember $1 Million Movie? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
All week long.
Yeah.
That's what I had in mind. I don't think I cared much. I didn't say, oh, I can't wait to grow up and get married and have kids. Never said that. Never said, oh, I want to be a teacher. I was kind of a weird kid, I guess.
Okay, were you a good student? I was
a very good student, but I was very shy, but a good student. I studied until I got into teenage years. I was going to Performing Arts High School, which was the Fame School, and that was pretty much the end of my academic life.
I seem to recall something happened because Performing Arts was my dream, and I didn't get in because I got a D in math. But yeah, that kind of screwed my dream. But didn't something happen to you at Performing Arts that your parents didn't know? I seem to recall there's a story here.
Oh, no. Well, I went in as a dance major, okay? And I loved modern dance, like Martha Graham. And so the first week, you do these classes, and the teachers watch you, and they pick you for their program. So the modern dance teacher tapped me on the shoulder, she picked me for her program, but someone overlooked my number. And so I sat there and I thought, oh my God. So I ended up in the B group, which was we don't know what to do with this group. I was so crestfallen that I just the year was like a bust for me. And at the end of the year, that same teacher that had tapped me, she called me and she said, well, so, it's the end of the year and we just think you'll be happier somewhere else. So it's not like in the movie Fame where they go, okay, I'm switching to the drama department. Oh no, they kick you to the curb.
Oh my God.
All summer long, and my father didn't want me to go there. And I'm sitting there all summer knowing that I have no place to go to school for my junior year. And 2 weeks before school started, I went to my father. I was a little manipulative because I knew my mother would be. And I said, Dad, you were so right. I shouldn't have gone there. And I don't want to go back. And he said, you see, Flo, my mother said, see, Flo, I told you it was going to be a shitty school. And so I scrambled and, found a school for me. It was a private school across from Carnegie Hall where I took dance classes and a couple of friends of mine went. Quintano School for the Young Professionals, which was basically, you don't ever have to go to school kind of school.
So were you in school play? I mean, where did this start for you? No.
It started for me really when I ended up in that school and I met a gal, she was in my class and she says, my mother is a manager for teenagers and she'd love to, you'd be great in commercials. And summertime was coming. I said, do they pay you for that? So I didn't get a job. She says, they do, they pay you. So she introduced me to her mother. She signed me up and she started sending me out on, there was like 5 auditions a day. There were so many commercials, especially if you were a teenager.
Wow.
And except that I would go there. If they handed me lines like a script, I would excuse myself and say, I'll be right back. I'm just going to the restroom. And I would leave. And I think they'll never know. They'll just think I didn't get called back. And finally, my kitty, this is Kitty Cat. My manager found out that I was leaving and she said, you have to leave. I said, well, I don't know how to say these words. So I went to an acting coach who started coaching me and that's where it began. And I thought, well, this is kind of fun. I liked it and it seemed, like it really fit. And I remember that when I was a kid, when I was in grade school, what we used to do at lunch break is I'd say, you know what? Let's do this. You're going to be this character. And you're going to be this character. And I'd create these little improvisations and we just play make believe, make believe this and make believe that. So it just started evolving from there. I started taking classes and then I went out, auditioned on different, a few little movies that would pass through New York, but that's how it started.
And did you
accidentally?
Accidentally. So when did the passion start? How did the passion start? Did the passion start?
I think that in the beginning, remember I'm now 15 turning 16 and doing commercials and all the kids in the school were doing, it was kind of fun for us. We'd all go on auditions together and it was really fun. And I think that as I recall, I got a small part in the last detail. They originally offered me the part of the hooker, but I didn't think I could do that. And so they offered me this other part. And I remember being on the set. Hal Ashby was the director. It was Jack Nicholson, Randy Quaid. And I'm sitting there and I remember that you couldn't even hear the sound of the camera when it turned on. And that environment there was something very seductive about it. And I remember leaving, I was probably 22 then. And I remember thinking, I need to pursue this. And I spent another couple of years in New York and I woke up one day and I thought, I've sold everything possible known to man in a commercial. If I don't go to California now, I'm never going to do it. So I literally just picked up and went to California and got the agent, did the whole thing. But the passion, when I walked on that first day on a soundstage was like, it was kind of how I felt when I moved to Greenwich Village, when I went, oh my God, this is my tribe, these are my people. That's what it felt like when I walked on a soundstage. It was like, here's my people. This is where I belong. It was I felt at home, and that's when I became passionate about it.
I believe in all that stuff. I mean, have you ever gone apartment hunting and you walk into that one and you say, this is it, I belong here. Yeah. And I think it's that way with everything in life. Like we just know, we get that feeling. So
totally.
Right. How was Jack with you?
He was great. He's Jack. I mean, Jack Nicholson. We did this little improvisation. You know, Hal Ashby wasn't about the script or anything. Anyway, we did it, and Jack said, "Oh my God, she's so good. Is she good?" And all of that. Instead of feeling excited, I got so embarrassed. I felt so uncomfortable, which worked for me because the character was supposed to be really uptight. But the funny part is I was so nervous. I had a few glasses of wine at lunch when we all went to lunch, and we came back afterwards, and the cameraman saying, "What did they do to her makeup? She's all red." You know, I sort of flushed from the wall. What did you do to her makeup? And I'm dying. And of course, the more embarrassed I'm getting, the redder I'm getting.
Oh my! Yeah, and did you remain friends with Jack? Like, have you seen Jack over the years? Have you?
You know, I saw him a couple times. I remember when I that was shot in Toronto. When I came out to California, I screen tested for Carrie, and I contacted him and I said, "Oh, you know," I asked him about, "How do you know?" And he says, "You know what?" He says, "I've never gotten a job from screen testing. I got a job for reading for somebody else's screen test. They hired me and not the other person."
Wow.
So, you know, that was, yeah. And then just sort of bumped into him, but we didn't really stay in touch.
Okay, so you got the last detail. Did things like just take off from there? What happened after?
No, I went back to New York and did commercials for another few years, and that when I came out to pursue a film career, I was in California here I came in September and was cast. I screen tested in November, so I was only here a couple of months. I was ready to turn around and go back. I thought, this is taking way too long to get going. I need a paycheck. I need to go back to New York.
Are your parents? How do your parents feel about the fact that you're doing this?
My mother loved it. You know, she loved it all. My father was so not about any of it. He just thought it was a big mistake and I should go get an education and, you know, a teaching degree and use my mind and all of that. And these Hollywood phonies and what makes, you know, he was very negative. You know, so it was like my mother's going, "You can do anything." And my father going, "What makes you think you can do this?" It was like my sister, my daughter, my sister.
So you didn't do college. You didn't.
I didn't do college. I didn't even go to my high school graduation.
Okay, but did you graduate?
Yeah, I did. I have a diploma somewhere.
Okay. T-Bear was asking if you grew up in Yonkers, but you didn't. You grew up in the Bronx, as I.
We moved to Yonkers when I was 10. Yeah, when I was 10.
He's asking me if you I don't know.
Well, near Roosevelt High School, so Central Avenue near Tuckahoe Road.
All right. Oh God, we used to go ice skating in Tuckahoe. Oh. Right? Remember that ice skating? And yes, there was Stella Doro where we used to. That was like a good thing. And Patricia Murphy. Do you remember?
Patricia Murphy's. We were right next door to that. You'd hear "Party for 4."
Patricia Murphy was a big deal. That was like
big deal.
That was very classy going to Patricia Murphy.
Yes.
Okay, so you come out to California now. Now I could be getting this part of the story wrong. Did Harriet Helberg have anything to do with you getting cast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she did. That totally. I was literally, there's a what do you call it? Not a health club. Where you exercise, one of those places.
A gym?
A gym, thank you. I'm coming out of the steam room and I hear, "See, is that Nancy Allen?" And I turned around, yes, and it was Harriet. I said, "Oh, hey, Harriet." She cast me in commercials in New York. And she said, "Oh, you know, what are you doing here? I'm casting this movie and blah, blah, blah." And I called, "Who's your agent?" And I told her, and she said, "Oh, I called him. He said he didn't really have anyone right for the part." So she said, "Well, you know what? Tomorrow's the last day of casting and you won't get the part, but at least you'll get to read for the director. Come over to Culver City, pick up the script." So that's what I did. I picked up the script. I stayed up all night writing a biography of the character, reading the book. I mean, on and on and on. And I was the last person of the last day to read for Carrie. And I wasn't thinking I'm going to get the part. And when I got home, there was a message saying, okay, we're going to screen test you. I couldn't believe it, you know?
And was that the part that you read for? Was that what they saw you as right away? You were the mean girl.
It was the bad girl. And a lot of people have written and said, oh, no, I was up for Carrie. I was never up for the role of Carrie. The only Sissy and one other actress was up for that.
So I think you were playing the Amy Irving role. You could have possibly done that role, I think.
Well, I could have. Then I would have thought that that's what they would have wanted me for. And in fact, the producer thought I looked too nice. So first, poor Harriet, I felt bad for her because she was calling me from the screening room saying, I love you. You're going to get this part. And the next morning I called my mother. I said, oh my God, I got this great part in a movie. And the next morning the phone rang and it was Harriet. And she says, Nancy, I probably shouldn't have said anything, but they're going to look in New York. The producer wants to see other actresses. And I said, but I told my mother. You know, it's like, I can't do that. This is done. This is a done deal.
Yeah.
So then it was November, and I wasn't really set in the role until I think it was late January. Yeah.
So now all that time you're thinking, oh my God, I didn't get it. Are you
yes,
getting?
And they put me on hold for some character that didn't barely even exist in the script, and then the director, Brian DePalma, had a screening of Obsession, his most recent film, and there was Billy Cat and Amy and Sissy and John, and I think that was who was there, and me, and we were all outside saying, oh, isn't this great? We all got our parts. And I said, well, I didn't. I felt so embarrassed. But then Brian brought me in with Amy the next day, I think, or a few days later, and we read a couple of scenes, and then Amy left, and I remember he and Harriet came into the room and said, well, you've got the part. And it was a funny thing. You would think I would have been screaming, but it was in a way anticlimactic, strangely, you know, and I was kind of like, oh, okay. And then I didn't get excited until I was going to fly home to New York. I'd never thought about my mortality. And I thought, wait a minute, I can't get on a plane. What if I die before I get to act in a movie? You know what I mean?
So that ended up impacting your life in so many ways. I mean, the film is iconic. John Travolta working with John, and then Brian, that whole thing. Before we get to Brian, let's talk about John for a minute. Did you know Kelly Preston? Had you?
No, we never met. No. But I can imagine she must have been lovely because John is such a dear human being.
Okay, so let's talk about John for a minute, because you got not only to have that incredible experience with him, but then also blow up. So what was your relationship with John like when you started on Carrie?
Well, we were cohorts. We did everything together. We drove together. We lived very close. He would drive or I would drive. We'd share rides. He was just really, he hadn't really hit in Welcome Back, Kotter yet. So we were really close. We had a great time together. We thought we were the comic, at least I thought we were the comic relief in the film, because everybody always laughed. The crew always laughed at us when we were working together. I had no idea people would hate us when the movie came out. But he was just a really, really kind, fun, wonderful person. I remember him saying to me one night after going to the rushes of the day before, we came out of the screening room, and we went to have something to eat. He says, he said, people are going to be really surprised when they see you, because they'll know you're pretty, but they're going to be really surprised to see how good you are. And I just, he was a very kind, supportive person. And we had great chemistry, John and I.
Yes,
it was just magic between us. And so, and by the end, I remember going to shoot the car when the car flips out on that night shoot. And when we pulled up, there were all these fans. They had to put up, like barricades. And I thought, oh my God, what happened? It just it's like overnight it happened.
What did it happen from Welcome Back Hot? Did you get on?
Yes, it was all about that, and it was just stunning.
Barbarino, just
exactly.
Did you and John ever date? Did you date? Did you ever have did you have that moment of?
We didn't. They said we did, but we didn't. We hung out together. We had dinners together, but there was never that between us. In fact,
was seeing Diana Hyland, was that her name?
not at that time, no. That was later.
So it just wasn't, that wasn't part of your chemistry with them.
No. And I was with someone at the time. I was with somebody at the time, and it just didn't happen.
So now, but it wasn't with Brian yet either, was it? Or
no.
what? Okay,
No.
so how did that develop?
It's funny that John, it was at the end, that last night of shooting, the three of us had dinner together. On set, everybody was eating, but we sat together. And Brian got up to go back to work, and John goes, "He likes you." And I said, "What are you talking about?" I mean, I said, "You're crazy. You know what you're talking about." And so that was that. And Brian had invited the cast. He said, "If anybody's in New York," because that's where he edited, "whenever you're in New York in the next few months, give me a call and you guys can come to the editing room, and Paul Hirsch, who's the editor, will show you one of your scenes in progress." So I had gone to visit my mother at the end of May. We wrapped shooting in April, beginning of April. And it was like the day before I went back to LA. I called. I thought, well, I'll give a call. So I called. He said, "Oh, come on over. We're just wrapping up." So I went over to the editing room, and there was, Paul Hirsch, who's so amazing. And he had a picture up of John and I from some magazine. And they showed me two of the scenes, and which was great. And then he said to me, "You want to grab a bite to eat?" And I said, "Sure." So we went to dinner, went to Victor's up on the Upper West Side, Victor's Cuban Cafe. And we did enjoy some margaritas that night, as I recall. And it was like I saw him as a completely different person, because he's very serious.
Did you have a crush? You didn't have a crush on him on set?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no, not at all. He was very serious on the set, not fun at all. And all of a sudden, I'm having dinner with this man. He's funny, and we're having a great time. And it was really like, who is this guy? He said, "What's your birthday? I have to remember your birthday." And then we went to drive downtown. I don't know where I was staying. I don't even remember. We got in the cab, and he kissed me, and I was completely gobsmacked. And I thought, well, that felt like something that I wasn't expecting. And then I left for LA, and about a month later, he called me from the editing room, and they were all singing "Happy Birthday" to me. And he said, it was sweet. He said, "I'm coming to LA, and I'll be out." And I said, "Oh, really? What do you want me to do? Put it in the print trades?" Or I made some sarcastic remark. That was really the beginning of it, and that's how it started. So.
And so how so you were saying how you kept repeating the same thing. So did you bring your youth into that? Was that marriage part of repeating your history?
I would say so, because he's not like abusive in a way. Like he wasn't verbally abusive, but he was emotionally really detached. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He could be funny and wonderful, but then, not really. There was just something. I mean, I don't want to get into too much of that, but I remember my mother, we all had dinner, and I was not thinking about marriage. As I told you, that wasn't on my mind at that time. Uh-huh. But I remember my parents, and I said, "So what did you think of it?" She said, "Well, he's fun, but he's not the type of man you marry." And I said, "Who's talking about getting married?" But, we did end up getting married. We broke up. And he was very odd in some ways. And then I remember saying to him, "You don't even know what you want. I know I want to at some point get married and have kids. And, I don't want to be whatever." And so he said, "I do. I want to get married. Let's do it." And so not exactly the most romantic proposal, but we did get married. And it was great until it wasn't great.
How long? How long?
And it was about... Well, we got together in 1976 and we separated in 1982. So.
Did you get out as soon as it started getting bad? Did you take care of yourself, or did you stay in it? Because I have a habit.
No. It was he that removed himself. He could not do it. Could not do it. Mm. And I, of course, looked at myself and wanted to blame myself. And then it was it took years for me. That for me was the beginning of my descent into absolute, almost like a breakdown, because I wasn't put together that way. I thought you get married and that's it. And then you're married and then you stay married.
Right.
And so when that fell apart, first of all, that it was so public and I'm so private and it all seemed so mean, and it just, my heart was broken. I had no tools at all for dealing with it. And it took me, I blamed myself. I kept thinking, what did I do? And it took years of therapy for me to see, no, he can't stay in a committed relationship. It's his issue, not your issue. I had other issues, but it wasn't about that. So, yeah.
It's interesting as a Cancer and a homebody that your dream wasn't to get married and have kids, that wasn't part of your thing. It's interesting.
Well, it didn't. It came later. It came later. Like I was 28 when we got married. Mm-hmm. So that's when I was starting to just think about it. I mean, I think it was very career driven. I was in pursuit of that. It was very independent. My mother encouraged me to, I didn't have one of those mothers that encouraged me to get married. And I remember being a teenager and going to all these cousins' weddings, these big weddings. And I remember saying to her, don't ever think I'm going to be doing that. That's never going to be happening for me.
Wow.
I thought if I did get married, it would be very private, a very private affair.
And was it? Did you get married and did you have a little?
We did. We got married in our apartment. My parents came and, we had his best friend, my best friend. And then I should have known, it was just so weird. After the ceremony, he had his friends come over and then had the marriage certificate pinned up on the wall and then filmed their reaction when he pointed to it. So it was like a little weird, I wonder what happened to that footage.
Well, it's a filmmaker, I guess. So, yeah. Okay, so after Carrie, Dressed to Kill, what was Dressed to Kill now?
I Want to Hold Your Hand. Bob Zemeckis' movie, first movie. That's where I met Wendy, and Bob was, Bob Zemeckis, Bob Gale, Steven Spielberg was the executive producer. And, Zemeckis' it was his directorial debut. He was 26 years old.
And how was that experience? Was that a fun set?
It was a great set. We had a blast. We really did. Wendy and I, and of course, Teresa Saldana, who's also gone now. And we were like, Mo, Larry, and Curly. We were inseparable,
And so did Carrie roll right into that?
No.
Okay. So
it was a year and a half before I did. I had some offers, but they were pretty much the same character in really shitty high school pictures, and I waited. I wanted to wait, but boy,
you were turning things down after your
kind of garbage, So, but I wanted to do something good. I wanted to build a career, and this came along. And I loved it. I just loved the script. I fell madly in love. And of course, I was a teenager when the Beatles came in 1964. So I thought, I know these girls. I know this character, So. Okay,
so then you did that one. And then did that parlay into the next gig? Like, did you roll into the next gig from that?
Well, I'm trying to think. After that, Brian did a movie called Home Movies. It was me. It was Kirk Douglas, Keith Gordon, Garrett Graham, Mary Davenport. That was fun. Oh, Vincent Gardenia. Oh my God. He was just amazing. So that was a little, a small picture, but at that time, it was right after that Brian and I broke up. And I came back.
What was Kirk Douglas like?
Oh, he's Kirk Douglas. It's just like, it's Kirk Douglas. You can't separate the man from the star. It's like he's in the room and he just says hello, at Kirk Douglas way. He's just amazing. I loved him.
Okay, so you and Brian break up, and then your career is.
Yeah, I go back to LA and I do. Spielberg cast me in 1941.
Okay, now that didn't do well at the box office, but that had to be incredible fun to do, I would assume. That cast.
Oh my God. First of all, the original draft of the script, which was Zemeckis and Gale, was perfection. It did evolve to the point with all the colors in the script, the pages kept changing, and finally everyone just threw their script away. But I mean, it started out to be, I think it was a 14-week shoot. It was a 6-month shoot. So that's what it was like.
Mhm.
And every day, every day. So, but I had Belushi and Aykroyd and Tim Matheson and Treat Williams and Wendy and, we had so much fun. And of course, the set, we're talking about, what year was that? 1978-ish. It was pretty crazy on the set.
Yeah.
Night shoot, 6 weeks of night shoots. Oh yeah, we were flying all night long.
Okay, so let's talk about that a minute. So substances. At what point did that become a part of your life?
Well, certainly at that point in Hollywood, it was just being part of the environment. And I remember someone saying, it's kind of like, people actually talk like that. It's kind of like a cup of coffee. It's not addictive, and, cocaine and all that. So I thought, okay, and I didn't really want to get into drugs. I was so afraid of losing my mind. I wanted to be in control. But I remember the first time and thinking, wow, okay, so this is the missing link. And it seems really great at first. And then, smash cut to however long later. And what seems like fun and what seems very engaging, and you're talking, you're part of it, it actually takes you out of your life. Just like any kind of alcohol or substance, like all of a sudden, it's just that. It's like, it's talking to you, come here, I want you, and you're there. And this homebody's there, and it's just that, and it's like going into the darkness, really. And not everybody has addiction issues, but I'm that person that smoked until I couldn't smoke another cigarette. You know what I mean?
How long ago did you quit cigarettes?
1986 July. It's a long time ago.
So you were sober first? You gave up substances first?
I did, yes.
Was there a bottom? Was there a dark? Before you hit the light? Did you hit a bottom of darkness?
Well, I'll tell it this way. I was out here finishing a movie, actually the Philadelphia Experiment, and I remember I was living holed up at the Chateau Marmont. That was my place. I loved it. And especially in those days, it was very different in those days than it is now. It's very la 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 now. It was not so la la la. It was more of a hideout for everybody. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I remember sitting in Barney's Beanery thinking, I've got to eat something. I'd been probably going for about 2 days, and sitting there thinking, I wonder how little I have to work to maintain this lifestyle. Isn't this what all creative people, like writers and creative people, isn't this what they do? And so that was that. I went back. I remember going back to New York when I finished the picture, going home. And I was sitting with a friend of mine, old friend of mine, and I was sitting, we'd gone to dinner, and now I'm having, I think, my third Remy Stinger, and which I don't recommend. Oh. And just sitting there, the first drink's always like, ha, ha, ha. The next drink's like, well, let me tell you something. And the third drink, I'm crying, and I'm saying, my life, and like this kind of thing. And I looked at him, and I said, weren't we doing this last night? And he said, yeah. And I thought, okay, I'm so done. And I could see the repetitiveness. And, but that was the beginning of the end for me. It really was. I thought, I'm done. I'm so done. I can't live like this anymore. And I have to, because I was like a vampire. I lived at night, I'd be up all night. And that little crack of light would come in the window, or the birds are like, oh God, I can't take it. So I felt like I was dying, Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I was physically dying, but certainly my spirit was dying. Mm-hmm. And it was like I really had to save my own life to stop, Was it
difficult for you? Or were you just done and you were able to just do it when you made the decision?
It was not so difficult because I remember, I think it was the next day, I remember it was like 5 o'clock, and I thought it was kind of shaky. And I remember thinking, well, let me have a drink. And I had a drink, and I felt nothing. and that was weird. And
Wow.
another drink, and I felt it was like nothing.
Wow.
I felt nothing. So I think, I don't know. It was divine intervention. I don't know what the hell it was, but that was it for me. I think I had one more escapade in me at Christmas time, and that was it. And, that's a long time ago now. It's over 35 years ago.
Which is absolutely astounding. And has it been easy-ish to make? Was there ever a time when you thought, did you ever question it? Did you ever question being sober?
No. I mean, it just feels natural, really, to me at this point. And I feel like, I really feel like that's who I am. And, I just one of those people that happen to have an allergy to substances, to alcohol. I only really, it was useful because I was so shy. It was like a social lubricant. And I think I look at the divorce and having no coping mechanism, no way to deal with all of those feelings. It was medication for me. I just didn't know I was killing myself. And I think it's just miraculous, because really the worst of it was only not even 3 years.
Oh, wow.
It's like I wouldn't touch another cigarette. I wouldn't touch anything, because I think it's even with, what was I telling you? Chocolate, ice cream, whatever. It's like every day I have ice cream.
But, having one, you're not.
Yeah, it's like
chocolate.
Things that are fun. It's like, I like to be alive. I like to be, really present in my life and really present with the people that I'm with. And you're not. And I can see that when I'm with people who have, and after they've had their second cocktail, they're either repeating themselves or their eyes are glazing over. Do you even know that I'm here with you? But I don't judge anyone, because I think we all do what we have to do in this life to enjoy our life. And many people can just, it's a beverage, or drugs are drugs. I say stay away from them, because I think they're really dangerous, and you don't know. I think I'm lucky to be alive. Honestly, really lucky to be alive. You think you have a little alcohol, you take a little Coke, you take a pill because you're too nervous, you need to go to sleep. I mean, how many times do you hear about someone just, what's going to be the thing that's going to kill you? You just don't know. Right. Physically, our physical body, we're all different. So it's like, I insist on enjoying my life today, and I don't really need anything. What could be better? I mean, we're just sitting here talking, we're having fun, and nothing would make it better, except if we were together. That would be better. Right,
and we were having lunch in a restaurant. So you were with Belushi. I mean, 1941, that's historically like when he was at the height of his kind of. Yes. So was the set difficult because of that? Were there challenges because of that?
Oh my God, there were such challenges. The first challenge was that they were shooting around Danny and John's schedule with Saturday Night Live. That was the first problem. So that really set everything back. But John, who was the dearest, most adorable, fabulous human being as himself, but once he got into the drugs and everything, you never knew what you were going to get. And he would be up all night, and he'd get to the set maybe 3 hours late, and he'd say, "You got about 2 hours. It's all I got for you." And so they'd have to figure it out and shoot. And that's, yeah. So it was kind of tricky. And he and Danny kept rewriting things. It was tough. It was really tough. But you couldn't, I was just crazy about him. One of my favorite set pictures is a picture of, there's Robert Stack is in the background, and John's hovering over me, grabbing me. And I really loved him. He was a really dear person. When his wife visited the set, when she'd come and visit him, he'd be great. He really needed her. She was very, grounding force for him. But he was tough.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Dressed to Kill, because it's one of my favorite movies. It's just, what was it like to work with Michael Caine?
Well, He is. I could barely speak when I met him at rehearsals. I mean, Michael Caine, he was the nicest. He's so funny. I'll tell you that. He's hysterically funny. And he's a Brit. I mean, they're so, they're not in no method, none of this kind of stuff. He's just a fun guy and knows his lines, is on time.
Wow.
Very charming. I mean, it's Michael Caine. He's extremely charming and sexy. And when he had to don the wig and the makeup and all of that stuff, that day was very tense on the set while he was in makeup. And Brian said to me, he said, I think you should go in and see Michael so that, you feel comfortable and you don't start laughing or something when he walks on the set. So I knock on his dressing room and I walk in and he's there in full makeup, wig, everything with a big cigar. And, he came on the set, very macho New York set, and he walks on the set and you could feel the tension. And he looks around and he says, I always knew that if I worked long enough and hard enough, I'd get to play me mom. And everybody laughed, and that was the end of it. And one other thing I'll tell you, because it just tells you what a generous, kind man he is. When there's a scene when I'm in his office and I'm telling the story of this dream, and it was very tiny, very tight set. And Brian said to him, "You don't need to be here because it's just her talking." He was just off camera saying, like that. And we'll get to you after we get all Nancy's side of it. And Michael said, no, I'll stay because she'll know I'm in the room. And he just sat there on an apple box while I did the scene. He's a very generous man,
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Did you have any sense with Carrie or with Dressed to Kill how huge they were going to be? Could you tell?
I don't know that I knew that Carrie was going to be huge, but you could tell just from seeing the rushes, the dailies, that it was a good movie. You knew that. I mean, the studio certainly didn't know it was going to be a huge success. I didn't think about that, but with Dressed to Kill, again, you had a perfect script.
Yeah.
When you have a perfect script, you have a pretty good chance at a good movie. I wasn't surprised. I was very surprised at all the controversy when it came out. That I wasn't prepared for. He's a misogynist, and how could you let him treat you like that? And, all this kind of stuff. But it just made more attention for the film. But I think Brian certainly wasn't prepared for it because he was just freaked out with all the good reviews from Dressed to Kill. I don't think he expected it at all, but it was thrilling. It was really thrilling. And to be in your hometown, to shoot a movie in your hometown and have it open there, it was great.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then how about Blowout?
Blowout is a film that I was never going to do. It was originally called Personal Effects.
Oh.
And the two characters, it was a real film noir. And the two characters were a bit older and a little more, down and out. I mean, it was the guy was much more cerebral, more like a Jimmy Woods or a John Hurt or someone like that. And so there was a list. And I didn't want to make another movie with Brian right away. So anyway, I don't know. I think I was in Europe. I was doing promotion for Dressed to Kill, and I got a call from Brian, and he said, I ran into John called me and asked me what I was working on. And I told him, and he asked if he could read the script. And I knew he wasn't on the list. And I said, well, what are you going to do if he likes it? He said, oh, well, he's not going to like it. He's going to see it's not the right character for him. So sure enough, a few days later, he calls and he says, you were right. I said, of course I'm right. What actor play that role, And he said, I said, so now what are you going to do? And he said, well, And so he said, well, I asked him, who he'd like to do this with. And he said, you. So what do you think about that? So do you think that's going to work? And I said, are you kidding? Of course, I want to work with him again. So it had to be a little retooled for us, worked out a little bit, and we did some improvisation. And of course, once John was involved, then it became a much bigger budget and, that huge set piece at the end with the parade and, all of that. So, but I was a little nervous because John had done Grease and not Staying Alive, Saturday Night Fever at that time. So I don't know what if he had changed. And, the first day at rehearsal, which was at our apartment, he came over and he hugged me and he right away is like, let's order pizza, let's eat something. Just that connection that we have, that chemistry. So we did a lot of improvisation. Brian did some rewriting based on that. And I think it worked out really well. It's really my favorite character. And because I didn't like her, and I had to find something about her to like, and the film did not open well, yet it's become this phenomenon over the years.
Yes.
It took a long time. The French knew it was a great film, but it took the rest of the world a long time to catch up. So I'm still, now I do a lot of interviews for that film, believe it or not.
I saw it the first week it opened. I loved it immediately. So I don't know where anybody else was. Okay, so speaking about things that have taken off and gone crazy, when I mention your name, like DJ, my ex-assistant who does the banners, I watched RoboCop 2 days ago. RoboCop is such a phenomenon.
It is.
So how did that happen for you?
Got a call, said, we're sending over a script. They're interested in you for this part. And I went, okay, I'll take a look at it. So the script arrives. I look, it says RoboCop. And I call my agent. I said, RoboCop, they're going to change this title, right? That's the first thing. I hadn't even read a page. And I said, okay, I'll look at it. So I thought, dumb script, right? I pick it up. I start to read it. I couldn't put it down. I read it in one sitting. And it was it was a perfect script. It was smart. It was funny. It had heart. It had political stuff. It was a perfect script. And then I met I found out Paul Verhoeven, who it was his first American film, and he had done a film I loved called Soldier of Orange. And I thought, oh my God, this guy is so good. So I met him, and I had to read for it. And the writers were there, and the director, and the casting, and all of that, and read for it. And in fact, Paul Verhoeven, he read with me, and there was one scene, he gave me some direction. He said, oh, will you try and do this, this and this. I said, okay, let me take a break. Let me walk outside and work on it and come back and read it again. So that's what I did. And I said, is that what you were looking for? And he said, no, not at all, but it was interesting. So there it began. And that was phenomenal. It was made for nothing. It was a really low budget film.
Wow.
And, but that set was electric. It was absolutely electric with energy. And that was him, driving it, really driving it. And those first day dailies, I looked and I thought, okay, this is going to be a great film. But I didn't think it would have wide appeal because it was so odd. It was so edgy. But Paul brought such soul to this movie. And so anyway, and here it is, it's just this incredible phenomenon.
So if you look back, I know Blowout, you were saying your favorite character. If you look back at your career, was there a director? I mean, you have personal experience there, but did someone stand out
as a director?
Yes, as somebody who. Go ahead.
So I have to say, okay, Brian, Steven Spielberg, Robert Zemeckis, Paul Verhoeven.
How do you pick a favorite in there?
Where do you go from there? Everybody else is just, that's the thing for me is that I was doing work and the scripts were bad. I mean, I was spoiled. I was completely spoiled. So
why did you stop?
I think it's a variety of reasons. Number one, I didn't really like the roles that I was getting anymore. The opportunities were not that good. I wouldn't have, other than I needed to go to work, I wouldn't have really chosen any of that material that I was doing after that. I didn't care for the directors I was working. There was just nothing. It wasn't pleasurable. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't challenging. It was just like, okay, it's a job. I'm going to work. And, but I also think that in an odd way, my life experience came into play. My father died of cancer. I lost two brothers 7 months apart, it's a whole other story, 94 October, 95 May. And then I had my mother with me. And it just, it's almost like it changes your life in ways that's hard to explain. And so it was shortly after that, a few years after that, that this thing with Wendy presented itself. And remember, as I said, I was starting to think about, I wanted to do something for women. And I think that I rolled into something that I was prepared in a way to do, which is the transition in the career. I was open to it, but I walked around saying, well, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I've been doing this since I'm 16. I have no education. I have no skills. I have nothing. It was this mantra. It was a really bad mantra, but it was my mantra. And, this incredible person said to me, it's not true. Every individual has unique gifts, talents, and abilities. And you need to just thank God every day for those unique gifts, talents, and abilities and ask to be shown how to use them to fulfill your life. And I thought, all right, I can do that. And it was at that point that somehow Wendy came in with this request. And so here I am. And, I was able to bring not only my own things that I was interested in, integrative processes of medicine and metaphysical things and all of that, but also the creative environment, people from Hollywood like Wendy did, who could help fundraise, who could be part of this community. And it was difficult because I had to learn to ask people for things, to say, we have no money.
Isn't that the worst? Oh my God, I do it all the time. I did it with you today. So you have these you have celebrity events. And so is it easier for you because they're going to say yes because it's you?
I don't know. I don't think of it that way. I just think it's really hard for me to do it. I don't want to bother anyone. And I joked with a friend of mine. I feel like I'm on my knees either thanking somebody or begging somebody for something all the time. Nonprofit, you're always asking for money. It's like, please, support us. And there's so many great causes out there. And but I have to think of WeSpark first, and I know the value of it. So it's really easy. It's not asking for me. I know that why I'm asking, it has great value to a lot of people. So it does make it a little bit easier.
I get that.
I'd rather write the check myself if I could, but
If the perfect script found its way to you, is it something that you would consider?
Yeah, I think so. I've learned to never say never to anything because you don't know what's going to happen next. The minute you say never, there it is in front of you. But I think it would be, yes, if it was a role, it would a group of people, a director or something, yes, I probably would be interested and terrified at the same time. And I know if I'm terrified, it's probably a good thing.
Do you covet it at all? Do you ever sit there and do you ever watch a movie and go, oh, I could have done that. Oh, I would have been great in that.
I don't know that I do that, but I look and I go, oh, and I start to wax nostalgic and think about being on the set and all of that. And then I think, oh my God, where in the middle of nowhere in a hotel room by myself, all of that. I think that the bloom is off that rose. I know it's a job, but I also know that if it's a job that you're passionate about, it's not a job. You know what I mean? It's like a great experience. So I don't know. I never say never, but it's, you never know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Has your life gone according to a plan? Has it exceeded a plan? Or, because it feels like you have done pretty much everything you set out to do.
Well, I don't know that there was ever a major plan per se, but when I look back, and now's a time in my life where I do a lot of reflective thinking, it seems to me that I was led on a path. And all I did was say yes at times. And even when I said no, it kept coming back to me. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does.
And just kind of learning to trust the process. There's a feeling, there's an instinct, I think, that comes along. But my life is great. I've had a really full and rich life, much more than I realized when I was young. When you're young, it's like you really, I don't know, I took everything for granted, I think, and didn't really realize. I mean, here I'm in the middle of the 70s with, a dinner with Brian DePalma, Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola. It just was normal. They were all young. We were all young. It's like, oh, it was like the, and I look back and I'm going, oh my God, why wasn't I taking notes? Why wasn't I taking pictures? I'd been much better for a book, but it just was happening to me. And I'm very improvisational in that way. It's like, oh, I'm going over here now. When is, just, and I think that's the best message for anyone who's young and starting out. It's like, trust the process, go through the open door. If your head's banging into the wall over and over again, turn right or turn left, and
I love that about saying yes. I think saying yes is huge. Although you did say no, you did choose, yeah.
But take risks. Take risks. I got on a plane to come to California with no promise of anything. I had a list of 5 agents.
How much money did you have?
I had nothing. I had a little bit. After I was here for 2 months, I wanted to go back because I had needed a paycheck. I mean, I didn't have any money, I had 5 agents. And by the way, I have to say this, the first agent, there was only one woman. I thought, I'm calling the woman first. She'll be the nicest. I get the woman on the phone who tells me, I'm too old. You're too old. For a woman, you're too old. Go back to New York. You're not even worth the time of my investment. If you're a man, like that. So take risks, show up, get on a plane, do whatever you want to do. If you have a dream, if you have a notion, that little whisper from the universe, pay attention and follow it. And it was kind of like with WeSpark. I thought, I'm doing this, but there's nothing on paper that says that I can be doing this. But I'm doing it, and I learned what I had to learn because I was passionate about it. And I think that's it. Don't let your life on paper dictate the rest of your life, because, things can happen that you might not be prepared for. Just go with it.
Do you have any regrets? I don't get the feeling you believe in regret. Is there anything that you regret?
I wouldn't say regrets. I mean, there are times, of course, when I think, oh, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but I don't. No, I don't. There's every once in a while, I think, oh, I shouldn't have gone back to New York when I got married. I should have stayed out here at the height of my career. But, again, in hindsight, if I'm so happy, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life right now. So if that's true, didn't everything that I did lead me up to this point?
Absolutely.
So what's the problem?
Did you turn down any roles that you regretted afterwards, that you then saw the movie and went, oh?
No, I don't think so. No. In fact, there were roles that I didn't get that I read for that I don't even know what movies those were anymore.
Right. They seem so important at the time. So hi from Tony. Hi from Catherine. Catherine's here, Carlin. Collins. I have a question for Nancy. Oh, what was it like working with Piper Laurie?
Oh, okay. So I didn't actually get to work with her because all her scenes were with Sissy. And in fact, I didn't even meet her until a few years ago when we had, I think it was at a fan show. It was at the Hollywood show in Burbank. And the whole cast, it was a Carrie reunion. And Piper was sitting by herself. She'd just written her book, which is, by the way, fabulous. I think it's called Learning to Live Out Loud. I don't like actors' biographies. This book is amazing. And
I remember you were going to connect me with her when her book.
I forget things. You have to push me a little bit because I'll forget.
I will.
So I've gotten to know Piper really well. She's an incredible woman, obviously a stunning actress. And one of my greatest joys was I had a Carrie fundraiser, a 40th anniversary as a fundraiser for WeSpark. And Piper had not, I don't think she'd seen the movie since it had opened, and never in a big audience like that. And she was sitting right behind me. And there was this huge theater at the Ace Hotel. It's a huge theater. I don't know how many people there, 1,500 people. And when she walks on screen and everyone cheered, I can't tell you, I just adore her. She's so real and so sweet and funny and charming and shy. She's a bit shy. And I would love to work with her. That would be really challenging myself.
Wow. Is she still working?
Well, she was up until a few years ago. I don't know if she still is, but she did another movie with Sissy about 10 years ago. I don't remember what it was, but
I would be scared. She was so real.
I know.
I don't know if I could get, like, I think I'd be nervous around her because
Oh no, she's so sweet. She's so sweet. But I'll tell you a funny story. She had seen Phantom of the Paradise, which I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it was really satirical, anyway. So she assumed that Carrie was going to have the same tone to it. So when she started rehearsing and doing the work, Brian said, Piper, you sure that's what you want to do? Because they're going to be laughing at you. And she said, well, isn't it a comedy? You shouldn't realize. So that's actually, I think it's in her book.
Wow.
Too. But of course, it's a stunning performance. Really stunning performance.
It's immortal. I mean, it's iconic. Okay.
Yes.
Eugene Allen says, love you, Nancy.
My nephew. And by the way, happy birthday. His birthday is on Friday. I love you.
Okay. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Rob. Hi, RJ. Let's see if we get a question. Okay, let's see. I'm rolling down to see. Hi, David Zimmerman. I have 2 questions for Nancy, which I'm sure she's been asked a million times. I'm such a huge fan of her work. What was it like working with? Okay, we already did both those questions. Okay, see, I'm good. I'm already ahead of them.
You're editing.
I already asked the questions that they're. I'm scrolling through really fast to see if. All right, I'm probably not going to do this because it's going to take too much time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tag you, Nancy. If anybody asked a question that I think you can answer, I'll tag you so that you can go back on the thread. But Nancy, there are people that just show up and that say yes. And today was really stressful for me. Liberty had canceled on me at 3:30 yesterday afternoon. At 11:30 last night, I wasn't sure if I had the replacement for him. I woke up this morning, found out I didn't, and you didn't even hesitate. You just said yes. And the value of that.
Because I love you. Because you're fun and fabulous, and I love what you do. And why not?
Yeah, but not everybody is that kind of person, and you just are that kind of person with everything that you do. And I appreciate you so much. And you exude.
Well, I wouldn't say yes for just anybody, Vicki. I said yes to you. You exude light wherever you go. I actually was in your company when you had COVID. Who knew? Right? We were at that Valentine's party. That's right. That's right. I was telling you I was coughing, right? But I'm medicated. Oh my God.
But you just always are just a beacon of light. And I'm just so grateful for you. And I'm so grateful for what you do with WeSpark. It's just an inspiring and beautiful thing. And I know
your support too. I really love you.
Fundraiser is going to be for WeSpark. It's coming up in a few months. I'm going to kick a few people's ass to do it. Don't forget you can support WeSpark, WeSpark.com. If you know anybody.
.org. www.wespark.org.
Okay, sorry about that. If you know anybody that is a caretaker for someone with cancer, if you know of anybody, it's free services for anybody. And you can tell them that Nancy sent you. Thank you so much. I love you so much. I
love you more.
And thank you all for I don't think anybody missed Liberty today. I love you, Liberty, but we'll see you in 2 weeks, and I'll see you all tomorrow on Shooting the Shit. And thanks again, Nancy.
Thanks, Vicki. Take care.
You too.